Welcome back. Here with us on Urban Debate on Mirror Now. There has been a new twist in Twitter deal. The mother of all deals has been put on hold. Wait, only temporarily. As per Tesla boss Elon Musk himself, this afternoon, world's richest man Elon Musk said on Twitter that his plan to buy the microblogging platform was on hold over a report of fake accounts on Twitter. So when Twitter users started thinking if Musk is having second thoughts about buying Twitter, then Twitter stock also dropped in pre-market trading by about 20%. And then there was another tweet by Elon Musk saying that he was still committed to the deal, to this acquisition. Musk's tweet included a link to a Reuters article from 2nd of May, and that was on Twitter's public filings, in which the company had said fake or spam accounts only accounted for about 5% of its overall user base. So the question we are trying to get answered tonight is $44 billion no longer the best offer for Twitter? Or is this an attempt to renegotiate the deal? Let's go across to my guest joining us on the broadcast this evening who will be helping us in decoding the tweets that Elon Musk put out today. We have Mahesh Murthy, venture capitalist and head Pinstrom, joining us. Lloyd Matthias, who is business strategist and investor, live with us. Udayaditya Banerjee, advocate and privacy expert, also live with us. We are joined by Prasantu Roy, public policy and technology analyst. Good evening to all of you, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us here on Urban Debate on Mirror Now this evening. Mahesh Murthy, I want to begin the discussion with you. Why do you think Elon Musk today put out this tweet saying that this deal is temporarily on hold? Is he having second thoughts, or do you think he wants to now renegotiate the way the Twitter's valuation has gone down as per certain reports over the last few days?
I think, we are all speculating here. Only Elon Musk knows what's in his mind. But I have three potential, reasons all that contribute. One, simply that a lot of Musk's stated reason for buying Twitter was to cleanse it of the bots. Given that there are people with 100 million followers and 80 million followers, of which 50% are bot followers, it was very strange to find the Twitter disclosures saying that only 10%, 5% of my, daily average users, which is if they're monetizable daily average users are 200 million, not even 5% of that is 10 million. So Twitter is basically saying only 10 million are bots. But obviously, a very simple check on anybody who has more than 10 million followers will tell you that there are a lot more bots than 10 million out there. So I think he stopped and said, hey, listen, tell me the truth out there. What exactly is this data that you're giving to the SEC? That's one. I think the second issue out here is that basically no other bidder has come in. So he's in a monopoly position. Twitter is painted into a corner. He's sitting there and saying, why do I even need to pay $54 a share if, I can get it for maybe, at $40 a share, $45 a share. So there may be a chance to renegotiate and save him a lot of money. Not just save him a lot of money, because I think there's a downward pressure on Tesla stock because he's pledged, $6 billion worth of Tesla stock to buy Twitter. That's the second one. And the third positive sign is that, people at Twitter are being fired, moved. They're making ready for change. There's not a single indication out there that change will not happen. So my studied guess, putting it all together, is that he is looking to go ahead. He's looking to make a deal. He's perhaps looking to get it cheaper. And he's trying to figure out what is at the bottom of this bot story. Why did there seem to be over 100 million bots while Twitter's only reporting 10 million? That's basically what my, back of the envelope quick analysis is.
Okay, Lloyd Matthias, what is your assessment of the first tweet that Elon Musk had put out today, and why should anybody have a problem if the spam users are actually less than 5% of the overall user base? Isn't that supposed to be a good news?
I would think so, Hina. I think fundamentally it seems like a ploy to me that Elon Musk, after all the bravado that he displayed in the first instance, I think is in a sense relooking. And I partially agree with what Mahesh said. I think he now recognizes that now with the poison pill strategy being played out, he's pretty much in a monopolistic position, right? So soon after he made that tweet, I think Twitter's market cap is down to $34 odd billion. So I think this is an interesting way to kind of renegotiate the deal, seeing what's happened since he made the offer to Tesla stock, etc. I think it's clearly a ploy. And my sense is, going back maybe in a few days, he might just renegotiate this down quite a bit, right? So I think that, to my mind, seems like a very plain strategy, shorn of all the absolute truth, etc., that he was seeking. I think deep down, some of the business interests are now getting at him, and I think therefore it's really a kind of looking at his entire stance and a smart ploy. I think he's just playing a very smart business move. But knowing Musk, he's a maverick, and God knows what he's up to next. But as of now, I think this is just a smart ploy to renegotiate his Twitter buy.
Okay, you see it as a ploy to renegotiate his deal. Probably he thinks $44 billion is a little too much for a microblogging platform like Twitter, which earlier he himself said was the best in the final offer. Udayaditya Banerjee, where do you stand on this entire issue? Because, we know that Elon Musk is a stakeholder already. Would he not have this information about the user base that Twitter has right now? How many accounts are fake? How many are real accounts? And he has actually quoted an article by Reuters that was put out on 2nd of May. Today we are talking on 13th of May.
First of all, I think there is some technical snag at my end. I can't see the broadcast. But to answer your question, see, ultimately, it's a business deal. And as the previous speaker also mentioned, it's a negotiation process. The whole deal, the way it has played out also, there was a tweet by Mr. Musk that he wants to offer this much money. Then there were speculations, and then Twitter came on board, and then Mr. Elon Musk suddenly became the champion of free speech and started putting out his ideas and concepts as to how he wants to revamp Twitter as a platform and promote free speech. And then, obviously, the business calls also come in. So, I mean, we would probably be reading a bit too much into this back and forth if, by the way, the whole thing has played out so far. It's ultimately a business deal. Mr. Elon Musk is one of the best businessmen in the world. So it is a negotiation and a renegotiation process, in my view, and nothing more than that.
Okay. Prashant Roy, do you think he could also possibly look at, cancelling this particular deal? Given the kind of statements that have come, given the way Tesla's stock value had fallen ever since Elon Musk made it public that he has interest in buying Twitter, and the way over the last few days we have seen cryptos falling, and we know how much money he has invested in crypto assets too. So do you think probably it's a financial issue that's making Elon Musk put this deal on hold, even if it is being done temporarily?
Is trying to get out completely. I agree that he wants to renegotiate, but I think what he's done is extremely irresponsible, given that he's been ticked off earlier. He's had run-ins with the SEC earlier over tweets that have basically played the market. Okay, this tweet of his caused a crash of, I don't know, some 20% or something in Twitter. Now, supposing he goes ahead and, he renegotiates based on that the Twitter stock price is at this level, that is playing the market. And I think he's well aware, and the SEC is well aware, that tweets by Elon Musk can significantly swing individual stocks and indeed the entire market. So on that front, I mean, he is trying to renegotiate. I don't think he's trying to back out. I don't agree that he's that smart a businessman if he's doing this again. This is an irresponsible move, and I would expect to see SEC action on this.
Okay. Now, Mahesh Murthy, this is the financial aspect of the deal. I also want to understand from you this reaction on the fake accounts or for spam accounts actually being lesser than 5%. Why should that be such a cause of concern for Elon Musk before he takes over Twitter, before this deal finally goes through?
I think the thing is that the public, or the common perception, I think I'm sure Prashant and I and Vivian Lloyd and others share it, is that the number of fake or bot accounts on Twitter is way larger than 10 million. is probably in the 40, 50, maybe 100 million plus.
So
mark.
you
We
think
don't know.
probably Twitter is not giving the right information via the public filing?
So
And that's
that
the
is really,
reason why there is this sense of doubt?
yes. So the fact is, given, I mean, if you look at any national leader, including our own prime minister, who has 70, 80 million plus followers, which most metrics say more than half are paid, right? That itself is 30, 40 million. Take larger account holders, take Taylor Swift, etc. So you have really large fake follower bases, right? Now, that fake follower base or bot base cannot be explained by Twitter's posting to SEC saying only 5%, less than 5% of a base is bot accounts, because less than 5% of the declared monetizable DAU base is only 10 million, right? So it can't be. So there is something off by a factor of 2, 3, 4 times in terms of public perception that we all share. So I'm assuming that he's digging into it because public perception there's at least 50 million. Twitter says there's not even 10 million. So somebody somewhere is trying to get to the bottom of it. I think Mr. Musk is doing that, and maybe using that as a stick to beat upon you. Twitter saying, "Did you disclose something wrong to the SEC?" I disagree with Prashanto in that SEC can come back and tell him accuse him of moving markets, because he's the guy who's made an offer. He's simply it's the same as a press release. So there's nothing illegal is done in this case. He's simply declaring at the same time to everybody else. There is no asymmetrical disclosure. On that I disagree. But coming to the bigger point, I think the basic issue that is he would imagine, and I'm sure I also do, and many of us do, that Twitter is sandbagging. That number is way larger than 10 million, and they're only way larger than 5%. Well, they're saying it's only 5% paid. I would imagine it could be 20, 30 plus 50%, 40% paid. That's what I imagine the issue to be.
Okay, Prashanto, will you like to respond? Then I'll go across to my other guests.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, so the issue is, I mean, one, I think it's very clear that 5% does not look realistic, especially when you take the large accounts, whether it's Prime Minister Narendra Modi or, former President Trump. We know that the figures are bigger. Okay, now, is it true that when you average it across, etc.? So I think the issue is not that. Yes.
Maybe the reality is different. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here. That's our perception. Our perception could be wrong too.
It is quite likely because Twitter actually taken action on bots. So it's not so far out of the realm of, the stretch of reality, etc. I just think that Musk could have acted on this differently. He chose to go public. And I think that is where there is an issue. While this is different from the 2018 case where, he was hauled up by the SEC and he had to get into a settlement, etc. I think it's again a situation where a tweet of it is significantly damaging a stock. Okay. And if he acts on that, if he uses that to negotiate, etc., I think that shows that this is not just concern about bot accounts. Okay. He's trying to send a message. He's trying to do something. He's trying to maybe even, hit out at the stock price for negotiations or something like that. That I think is irresponsible because he's been through this. He's been there, done that, been ticked off, been hauled up and been fined.
Okay. Lloyd, now we also understand that, Musk's deal included a $1 billion fee if he were to pull out of the deal. And we know usually deals like these take a lot of time to close eventually. Now, do you think there can also be a possibility with the way things are out right now, with the kind of tweets we have seen from Elon Musk, the way valuation of Tesla as well as Twitter has fallen over the last few weeks, he may, instead of just renegotiating, be even looking at exiting this completely?
Hina, that's a great question. I think there's a 1 billion on either side. So if either Musk pulls out or for whatever reason, Twitter, the board renegotiates, I think there is going to be the 1 billion issue. But I think that's really not a big concern for where Elon Musk is. I think he's playing two different games. So I think the first point about, the fact that Twitter numbers are sandbagged, I think the reality across social media platforms is there's a certain number of bots and certain number of incremental numbers, because fundamentally all social media platforms, their core monetization is advertising revenue, right? So more users, the more advertising revenue. I don't think really that's Musk's problem. I think he's fundamentally out here to try and get himself a better deal. I think the second issue is, which he stated in his earlier round of tweets, he was really looking at monetizing Twitter beyond ad revenue. So he's actually looking at the possibility of having government users and and official users so-called pay a fee, things like blue tick. He's talked about various monetizing opportunities. So I think he really senses a much larger play. I don't think for one he's going to pull out of the deal. I think this is a negotiating tactic. Two, I think he's got much bigger ideas of revenue than just monetization. So this is not really a fundamental concern for him. The third issue, which I think Prashanto brought out well, I think the issue of playing the markets and making some of these irresponsible statements and tweets even before he bought his first share stock holding in Twitter, I think is a bit disruptive. I think sooner than later, some of this is going to catch up with him and possibly affect a lot of his business deals. So while the other panelists talked about him being a great businessman, I think he's been an exceptional technologist. He's disrupted various industries. But I think some of his, the manner of the way he kind of uses Twitter is not really something that long-term markets and investors will really appreciate.
Okay, but one more question before I go across to the Aditya Banerjee. Lloyd, now the point here is that if indeed you have a legitimate user base, your fake accounts or spam accounts are much lesser, help me understand this, then you will be able to, make the most of the platform because you have more legitimate accounts, the accounts that are not fake. So why should that be a cause of concern? And do you also believe that Twitter would actually give incorrect information in the public filing that we are talking about here? Is that possible?
I don't think Twitter will deliberately misrepresent numbers. But like I said, the core of the business model is monetizing through advertising, right? So when they show more numbers through bots or whatever, I think it works for everyone. Now, I'm saying not all of that is, let's say, wrong filing by Twitter. Maybe the system has been over the years kind of built itself up. For every person on Twitter, it's a little bragging rights, right? As Prashanto pointed out, various people have enormous numbers that look completely untrue. So there is an element of sandbagging, absolutely, no doubt about it. Has Twitter misrepresented? I think the jury is out, but to my mind, that seems unlikely. So I really don't think those are the core issues. But yes, you're right. I mean, it doesn't make Musk's question about the fact that are the numbers more than 5%. In that sense, is completely illogical because it should be good, right? The more genuine users there are, the better for him as a potential owner of the platform.
Absolutely. Prashanto wants to come in as well. Yes.
No, I was just saying that I don't think his problem is that it's 5%. 5% is good. What he's trying to get across is that he doesn't believe that it's 5% and he wants to see the evidence. Now, that's a fairly strong thing to say because he's saying Twitter could be lying. Okay. And that's something he shouldn't have actually said in public, and he's got enough channels to speak to Twitter directly. So he's saying 5%. I don't believe it. Let's see the evidence.
Okay. Interesting. Twitter could be lying. That's the message probably that he is trying to give. That's the view of Prashanto Roy. Now, Uday Aditya Banerjee, amidst all of this, how should the employees of Twitter, the users of Twitter, really see these developments?
So see, I mean, first on a lighter note, the deal is playing out exactly the way Twitter functions. You have a message and then you have reactions and then things just go up in the air and no one is there to really verify or authenticate where the thing started. But on a serious note, as regards the employees are concerned, see, again, it's a corporate deal. It's like any corporate deal. It has its own process. Till such time the deal actually concretizes into something serious on paper, all these public announcements using the Twitter medium or using the other media mediums, it makes no difference as regards the actual organization is concerned. From a legal standpoint, from anything else, they would be facing as much anxiety as in the case of any takeover. What eventually will play out, the type of deal that actually Elon Musk finalizes with the Twitter owners will have completely a different ramification at that stage. At this stage, I really don't think there is much for anybody to worry about beyond what would normally be in any takeover situation.
Okay, so Mahesh Murthy, employees, users need not really worry too much, but for the employees, we have already started seeing a lot of important and interesting changes. There is a freeze on hiring. Two senior level executives have been asked to go as well, and now this development.
I think for the users, I think it's probably going to get better. For employees who had a particular mindset, the work or whatever it is, I think Vijaya Gadde may find at the end of the road, and a few others, including Parag Agarwal. So two big Indian names may find at the end of the road, on that front. But coming back to the issue, I think I echo what Prashant said, which is that I don't believe the bot numbers are as low as 5%. Nobody does. Twitter is saying so. I think what may have happened is their definition of bot may be so, marginal. It's not like the common definition of a bot, right? So it was in Twitter's interest to go and tell the world that they did not have a high bot percentage. And that was, because they wanted to keep the stock price up. And of course, our stated reason to buy Twitter is to wipe the bots clean. And he's out there saying, like the rest of us, I don't believe it's only 5% bots. I believe it's a much higher number. All right. This may well be an excuse to bring the price down.
But is that a reason enough to really put the entire deal, which is being also called as the mother of all deals, on hold? That's what I'm trying to understand. Because, soon after his tweet, we saw Twitter's share falling 20% and Tesla's share actually rising about 5%.
Yeah, so see what has happened, right? So essentially, if one tweet can make a deal cheaper by 76,000 crore or 77,500 crore rupees, which is what it has done, why would I not make the tweet? So yeah, it may be irresponsible, all of that stuff, but it's good business. If I'm legal, if I'm saying that this tweet, I tweet out and I save $10 billion, why the heck not? It's a lot of money, less money to pay for this asset that I'm committed to having. I also believe that, he's got too much of face to lose by saying I'm walking away from the deal. Though he may threaten to do that, he will hold on to the deal. He may get it at a lower price, which is what he's probably trying to do. And the more important thing is once he gets it at a low price, it's not just a low price. He releases a lock on Tesla shares, so Tesla shares can go back up. Remember, after his decision to buy Twitter, the value of Tesla fell by 5 Twitters, right? So he wants to get that value back up, right? So it may be something, this is three-dimensional chess, and he may actually prove to have made a willing move. I think in the next few days, we'll see probably something like that happen.
Okay, I want to give the last word now to Lloyd because, in one of the earlier tweets that Elon Musk had put out regarding Twitter acquisition, he'd also written, and I quote, "If our Twitter bid succeeds, we will defeat the spam bots or die trying." He also added that he wanted to authenticate all real humans. And now Winnie's actually found via this, public filing of Twitter that the spam users or bots are actually less than 5% of the total user base that this microblogging platform has. He's put the deal on hold.
I think this is part of Musk's personality. He's disrupted every business that he stepped into, right? So I think in that sense, he came with a great vision. I think he's still playing that out. But just like Mahesh said, I think right now, given the fact that his move has cost him a lot in terms of the wealth of Tesla, I think he's now kind of just recalibrating that a bit, right? I think the larger purpose of wanting to clean up the platform, kind of making it absolutely open in terms of free speech, I think a lot of the principles hold. But I think this is kind of a bit of a business ploy. I think to kind of rework things to his advantage. And to that extent, I think that's smart and, full marks to him. I also believe that he genuinely will make a difference to users on the platform. The future is going to be interesting. But the only concern that I would echo what Prasanto said is that some of this is, almost the equivalent of manipulating. And I think that is a big concern. If the person who owns the world's largest kind of town square, so to speak, where narratives are created, is himself kind of playing around so much, I think it doesn't send a very reassuring signal to the entire ecosystem.
Yes, and Prashanto, if indeed he's trying to manipulate, then once he becomes the boss of Twitter, then these kind of manipulations will become normal.
Well, I think there is the SEC to contend with, so I don't think he can really do that too often and get away with it. So that is, I think that he can't do that too often. But I think you're right that this kind of thing does cause a little bit of uncertainty. if you look from the India point of view, I think there's been a fair bit of uncertainty in senior management, and even in positions, when statutory positions like the chief compliance officer, etc. Twitter is in a kind of all social media is in a bit of a precarious situation in India. So they really need global stability to help stabilize, what is a fairly on the edge kind of existence in this country. So from that point of view, I think that would be worrying, and I hope things stabilize quickly one way or the other for Twitter.
All right. Appreciate all of you, gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us here on Urban Debate on Mirror Now this evening. We'll, of course, be looking forward to another tweet now by Elon Musk, and we'll get probably more clarity on whether this deal is happening or not. But thank you for joining us on this subject today.